his biggest pleasure was seeing people happy. So, you know, kind of gone through the...
And where was he from, and what happened? When did he die?
Hang on. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you were talking about your dad.
Vince Pugliese gets emotional talking to me about his father as their restaurant celebrates 50 years in the town. And he shared some photos of Tony's going back to 1975, including this menu with starters from 75p and spaghetti carbonara for £1.45. And these were the very first waitresses back then. The warmth and care shown to customers, many of whom have become friends, is one of the reasons Tony's has lasted so long. I bumped into a father and son outside the restaurant on Herbert Terrace in Penarth, who both remembered it well.
50 years, apparently.
Yes, we would have seen it down on the pier probably in the early 80s. So it was obviously quite new then, and therefore I think, it must have been regarded as quite exciting.
I sat down with Vince as we took a trip down memory lane, starting at the beginning in 1975, and how his dad, Tony, struggled to convince people to try what was considered at the time to be strange foreign food.
Why did your dad come here? How did the business get started, and what year was it?
In those days in Italy, there wasn't a lot of work about, especially in the south. And he came over here. My mother's sister, she'd married the British pilot, you know, from the war then, and so she, you know, called my dad to come over, and you know, we came over, and he worked in steel factories. He did hairdressing. He used to do panel beating and respraying, you know, his own place. He always had about 3 jobs. I rarely saw him. He was always working. He'd come home from one job and he'd go and do another one, and then he'd leave that one and go and do another. And he was always tired then, you know, afterwards. But those were the days. And then he had a friend who used to be a manager for Bernie Inns, and he used to be in the Borough Arms in Cardiff. We did that, and we found this place in Penarth.
Down on the pier? In 1975?
On the front.
On the front.
Yeah.
Sorry, not on the pier.
The
I always
pier.
think of that Penarth. Yeah.
I know,
It's the fish and chip shop now, you said.
That's right,
The
yeah.
fish and chip shop now.
Yeah. The original Tony's was a tiny little place, you know, and well, you know, people didn't even know what pizza was, or you know, they'd come past, they'd look at the menu, and they sort of look at it for a bit, smile and laugh, and then they'd be giggling away, but they wouldn't come in. So you know, my father invested everything into this, you know, and one day there was a few women out there, and they were looking and laughing, and then they went to go off, you know, and he just had enough. He just sort of ran out, you know. And he said, and he sort of grabbed one lady by the shoulder, and he said, excuse me, he said, could you tell me what's so funny, you know? And she said, oh, no, nothing. She said, you know. He said, well, why are you laughing all the time, you know? And she said, no, it's just the words sound a bit funny, you know, to us, you know, because we can't pronounce it, she said, but, you know.
Oh.
He said, well, why don't you come and try it, you know? He said, if you don't like it, he said, you can have it, he said, you know, but try it at least, you know? And he said, oh, okay. You know what I mean?
Oh, how lovely.
They kept them coming for, well, till they passed away. They used to come regular every week, you know? The first pizza we made, it was in just a normal oven. And we had we had the first guy came in. I remember the very first pizza. He sat in the corner table, and he had a mushroom pizza. And he said that was amazing. He said, can I have another one? You know, I had 2 pizzas. I couldn't believe it. You know, because it's quite filling, one pizza really, I think. And it just grew and grew from there. And Tony's then used to have queues just going past Rabiotti's, you know, which was quite a big restaurant. There was just massive queues we'd have all night, and people would stay out there. It'd be raining, and you know, and they would still queue. I couldn't understand it. And inside in the waiting area, there, you know, I mean, just like this, you know, it's not a lot of space, and people would jam in, and they'd be, you know, and they'd be waiting there. So the booths were sort of booths of 6, most of them, and some of 4. And usually you get couples coming in. So, you know, you put a couple on the table of 6 and, you know, that's the table gone. So all these people were waiting and, you know, we said to the customers then, you know, my father said, ask them if they don't mind to share, you know. I said, we can't ask people to share, surely. But he said, well, he said, you know, it doesn't, all you could do is ask, you
Yeah,
know.
of course.
And I don't know if they was embarrassed to say no or, you know. They said, oh, well, yeah, okay then, you know, and then, you know, we get somebody and put another 2
Yeah.
next to him. And most of the time, people were sharing the tables, you know, so you'd have several groups of people on one table.
Brilliant.
But the thing is that these people would be coming back together.
No way. They'd make friends. Oh, isn't that lovely?
Yeah, no, it's you know, I was, you know, I thought people wouldn't like it, you know, but yeah, obviously they did, you know, they
So
just
sweet.
really kept.
That's really lovely. I can see
It's,
that this is a place that people really care about. It's not just business, is it? It's not just about profit.
no.
It's way more than that.
Yeah, no. Profit is the.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.